chapter 5, we have 1. Classes and method, 2. Access modifiers, 3. Return and non-return method, 4. Parameters, 5. Static keyword, 6. Method overriding. Classes in Java. A class is a core building blocks of Java application. A class is a basis upon which a Java is built. A class is blueprint or template for creating an object. A class is a container for holding related properties and methods which define the behavior of an object. Let's consider a car as a class. A car has characteristics like steering, wheels, seat, brakes, gear, and tires. These characteristics are like our method. The method in class determine the behavior of the class when we call an object. Here we have a class car, which started with public class car. These two-word public class are keywords. We use keyword to define some actions. This keyword provided by the Java to define some action, and we cannot use this keyword to write our variables or any other identifier. The class started from this curly bracket, open curly bracket, to this curly bracket, which we write our method within these two curly brackets. We cannot write our method outside the class, and we cannot call a method that we did not define inside this class. Methods in Java. We know that a program or a code is a set of instructions given to the computer. The program are specified through methods. A method is a sequence of some declaration and execution statement. A method is declared inside the class. Method must be defined before it is used in the class. Method declaration include access modifier, return type, function name, parameter list, and method body. We will discuss about all these method declaration in this course. Here is an example of method. It started with public static int my method, but does not mean that every method will start with public. This public is access modifier, which means that this method can be accessed. It is public. We will discuss later on access modifier in the course, but for now, this public is access modifier, and static is called modifier. Int, the return type of the method. The return type of the method can be void also, but we will discuss about the return type of method later in the course. Here is the function name my method. This bracket we will have in some method we will have parameter list. We will discuss about the parameter later in the course, but this method has no parameter since we did not put anything inside the bracket. the method started from here, this open curly bracket, and ends here. This is what the method body is. In learning Java method, it is very important to know about main method in Java. Main method is a starting point of the program. JVM, which means Java Virtual Machine, start execution of the program from the main method. This public means that it allows the access of the method outside the program. Static means to invoke by Java Virtual Machine without creating an object. Void, the return type of the method. Main means name of the function. The JVM identify main face and start execution from the main. And this parameter string accept string input that can be provided at the runtime. Access modifier. Access modifier provides access to members of a class within a Java program. There can be 4 access modifiers used on classes, method, field, and constructors in Java. There are 4 access modifiers available in Java: public, private, default, and protected. Public access modifier can be accessed directly from all other classes and packages. Private access modifier can only be accessed within the class. Default can be accessed within the class and within all the classes in the same package. Protected, it allows access to its class, subclass, classes in the same package, and subclasses which are not located in the same package. Now, to explain on access modifier, let me create another package. The name of the package is Modifier. Inside this package, we create class access modifier. Now let me create another class. In this class we have public static. The name of the class is main. Okay, and let's write some fields which are public and method here in access modifier. To explain on public access modifier, we have public int number. Let me write method public void number function. All we want is to print number. This method will print the value of number, and we have to pass parameter here. We will discuss on parameter. For now, all we have to focus is on public access modifier. Here we write public, and here we also have public. All we want is to explain on public and how we access it. Now let me print the value of number. this dot number equal to number. Here is a keyword. We said that keyword in Java are to explain or to define some action. This keyword, this, is referring to a field of this class. This field that we have, this keyword is referring to the field of the current class, and this dot number equal to this number that we have in parameter. Because we have the name of the parameter and the name of the field is the same, that's why to differentiate between the parameter and the field that we have in the class, we have to write these dots. These refer to the field of current class. Okay, this dot number equal to this number. Now let me come to this main class. From this main class, let me create an object, access modifier. Let the variable name just be am equal to new. Let me just copy and paste here. We create object so that we can access the member of this access modifier from our main class. Now, to access the members of the access modifier, we have to put dot operator on our variable name. Now I write the variable name. Here is the variable name. Okay, let me use dot operator. If I use dot operator, here is the number field that we have, and here is the number function that I have written in the access modifier class. We can access these members because it is public. Okay, now I am able to access this number. Okay, let me access the function. Now, number function. Let me write 2 and print. Now we have to print because the function is to print 2. Okay, this is public access modifier. We can access public access modifier from another class and even from other packages. From all classes that we have, we can access public access modifier. Now let me come to this class and declare this field private. Now this field is private. Let go and try to access this field for now. Let's see. You see there is no any field number because it is private. This private access modifier can only be accessed inside this class. The scope is only inside this class. It cannot be accessed outside this class. Now, even this function that we have written, let me write this function, number function. If you have declared this number function private, we will see error here because this class does not know about the number function because it is private. Let me go and declare this class private. Okay, if we declare this class private, let comes to this main, you see we have an error here because this class did not know about this number function. This is about the public and private, and the next we're going to look is on default and protected. Now for default access modifier, we don't have to write anything here, be it public, private, protected. If you did not write anything, then it is default. We have default access modifier for the field and for the method. Now for default access modifier, only classes that are in the same package will access default access modifier. Now here we are in the package modifier, and this class main is also in the package modifier. Now since these two classes are in the same package, this class will access the members of this class using object. Now we have number field that we have in the access modifier class, and we have number function. Okay, we cannot access default modifier from another class. Now let me try. Now we have this class which is chapter 5 from different package. This is not the package modifier, this is another package. Let me import modifier package and import this access modifier. Now from this package, let me create an object, access modifier, the variable name, let me just write am new. Okay, let me try accessing the field of this. You see there is nothing here. We have no this number function, we have a number field, and we doesn't have the number function also. Okay, but let me put this field to public. If I write public here, if I come to this package, you see here we have this number. The default access modifier can only be accessed inside the same package. Okay, now let's try protected. For the protected, it can be accessed from subclasses inside the same package, classes that are in the same package, and subclass that are in different package. Now let me try accessing from this class. This class, they are in the same package. Here we access the number and the number function because they are in the same package, and they said that from subclass in the same package. What are subclass? A subclass are class that inherited the access modifier class. Any class that inherited this class is said to be subclass of this class. If class inherited another class, then it is subclass. Now let me create another class. Let the name of the class be access modifier 1 to differentiate it from our access modifier class. Now we have access modifier 1. Let this class extend. This extend keyword is used to inherit the class that we want. This we have subclass. To inherit access modifier class, we have to write extend and write the name of the class. Let me copy the name of the class and come to this access modifier. Okay, this what we have here is a subclass of our access modifier. From this class we will have access to members of this class protected because they are in the same package. Okay, now even if they are in different package, we can access protected if it is subclass. This is used to inherit the members of this class. We will talk about inheritance later in the course. This class is modifier class. We are inside modifier class, and if this subclass is inside this package which is not modifier, as long as it is subclass, we can access the members of protected. This is all about protected in this course. To explain on return and non return method, let me create another class. Demo. Inside this class, let's start with no return method. Public void. It is void because it is not returning anything. Public void. Let me write calculation. Inside this method, integer x equal to 1, integer y equal to 1 also, and integer z equal to x plus y. Let us print z. Now this method is not returning anything, just it will calculate this and print the value of z. Let me call the class demo equal to new demo. Now if we print this, we have 2. Okay, this is for no return. What if this value that we have 2, we going to use the value before printing the value. If we are going to use this value, then this method doesn't have to just print the value. What if we want the value? Maybe we can store the value on another variable before printing, or do some calculation again. Okay, since that it deals with the integer, let's delete this public int. Now there is keyword called return. This keyword will return the value of z. Okay, now this return the value of z, and from here we have to store this on integer value of z. Now we store this value of z on this variable name. We write the variable name, the value of z. If we want to print, then we just have to write this value of z here, and here we have to. We can also manipulate this value of z before having it printed. Now let's say that integer, let me add 1 on the value of z. Integer add 1 equal to value of z plus 1. Now let's print add 1. It added 1 on the value of z that we have. If we want to manipulate the value, we cannot just print it from this method. We have to return it and manipulate the value. This is about return type of this method. Okay, now what if this is double? If this is double, let's say that all these are double. And let's say this one is 2.1, 1.3. Okay, here we will have compilation error because this store double on integer. Let's change this one to double. Okay, here we have it printed on the terminal 4.4. And even if it is string, we have to store on string. Still, if it is short, we have to store on short. To explain on parameter, I have already created a class parameter. Parameter are variable that is passed to a method or constructor within a bracket during method declaration or constructor declaration. To explain on parameter, let's create a method public void. This method will not return anything. Public void addition. The name of the method addition. Let's say that this method, the user of this method has to pass the value to this method, and where is the user of this method will pass these values. After passing these values, this method will manipulate the values and give out the answer. Now here is where we use the parameter. We use parameter and write the type of the variable. It may be reference or primitive type. The user of this method will use this parameter that we have to pass the value, and the value must be of type of the parameter that we already pass here. Let's have integer num1. Here we have passed one parameter of type integer, primitive type integer. Okay, and let's say that we want to pass two parameters of integer. To pass two parameters, we will use comma to separate between different parameter, and let's write integer num2. Okay, now we have passed two parameter to this method, and here we have, let's have integer total that will add these two parameter. Whatever the user of this method pass as an argument, this method will manipulate and give out the answer. Let's have num2. Let's pass total here. This method will manipulate and print out the answer. Now to call this method, let's create object here in this class chapter 5 parameter. Here the type is parameter, and let's write the variable name parameter in lowercase to differentiate between this class and object variable. This start with, this is the name of the class which we write it start with capital letter, and this is the variable of the type of the class. Now let's create new parameter. Okay, now let's use this object variable to access the method addition. Now we access the method addition. So we have argument of type integer 1 and 2, and we will pass this argument. Now let's say that we want to add 3 and 2. Now let's write 3, and we will use comma to separate between these two arguments, 3 and 2. Okay, if we run this method will manipulate, will add these two number and print the total false. Now let's see. It is printed here. We have 5. It add the two number which is 2 and 5. Now we can delete this and try another method with different type. Now let this parameter be string. And let's change the name of the method to welcome and delete this. Now we will write name of city. The user of this method will pass name of the city here, and this method will print welcome to the name of the city that we have. Now let's delete this and write welcome to. Okay, and concatenate this welcome to with the name of the city. We don't know the name of the city for now. The user of this method will write the name of the city, and the method will print the name of the city. Okay, plus name of the city. Okay, now we use this parameter variable to access this welcome. Okay, now let's pass the name of the city. Now we change the type of the parameter, and here we have to pass only a single argument. Let's the city New York. Let's try running this. And one thing, that if we pass number here, we will have an error because the type of this parameter is not number. Now it print welcome to New York. We are passing parameter depending on the implementation of the method. Some methods have parameter and some methods may not have parameter, depending on what we are trying to simplify or what we are trying to solve. Here it's written use h1 because we have used this method here once. If we use this method twice, this usage will change to 2. Now let's write parameter and then call the method again, welcome, and pass, maybe let's write London here. Okay, now let's go to this. Now the usage is 2. It is writing the number and of the usage of the method. Okay, now we will discuss more on parameter in the course, and we will pass parameters, so many parameters later in the course, inside the constructors and inside the method that we are using. Static members. Static members are members of a class that are independent of object. Now, to explain more about static members, I created a class car. Inside this class car, let's have private string name. Let's car name, private string private string car color and private We also have private int car model. Now let's have some methods to use these fields. We have 3 fields: car name of type string, car color of type string, car model of type integer. Now let's say public void car name. No, let's just car name. Inside this method, let's pass a parameter string car name and have these dots car name equal to car name. Here I don't know if you consider, if I press inside this name, or I touch this dot car name, it refers to this, and if I touch this, it refers to this. This keyword, it's referencing current object, or for this hold statement is referencing our field here as we discussed earlier, and this dot car name equal to car name of the parameter. And let's have another method for the other variable. No, void car color, and we have the same thing for this string car color, and this dot car color equal to car color. It remains for our integer public void, this is not set car color, will public void car model integer car model this dot car model equal to car model. Now let's try accessing this now. Let this be car one. Okay, this car one, here are our instance members. All these that we created are instance members of our class: car color, car model, car name. Okay, different cars may have different car color, car model, car name. Okay, now what of the car number of cars? Here is where we can use static. For the number of cars, we will not pass number of cars to be an instance member, because the number of cars deal with the concept of class. It is not an object concept, it deals with the whole class, car, numbers of cars, and the number of objects we created determine the number of cars that we have. Okay, let's finish this declaration, and this car color, let's write it in blue. Content car color, car name, car name, let's have Honda, and car model, which is integer. Let's have something like this. Now these are all instance members, because each car that we create may have different name, color, and model, but the number of cars is for whole class. Because if we create maybe 20 cars, these 20 cars, to know the numbers of these 20 cars, we will not provide this number of cars as an instance member. It will be a class member because it deals with the whole class. Now let's have private static number of cars. We did not put the type of this variable. Private static int number of cars, and let's have constructor here. We will discuss later about constructor in the course, but for now we are dealing on the concept of static members. And let's create constructor public car to explain number of cars plus. This will be public so that we can access public. Okay, now from here let's access. You see, from here we cannot access the number car one. From car one we will not access the number of cars. We can only access this directly from the car class. Here is the name of the class, car. Now we will access it directly without creating an object. Static members, we access static members directly without creating an object. Now let's access. Here we have number of cars. Okay, now let's store this integer number of cars equal to is number, okay, and let's have this printed number of cars. Let's print this and see how many cars that we have here. It's taking some time. Okay, it is printed. Here we have one car. Yes, it is one because the only object we created is one here of car 1. Now let's copy this and let this be car 2. We can use this object variable to access the method and give numbers to this, but it is not important. For now, we have to know the number of cars that we created. Let's print and have car 3. Let's print this and see how many numbers of cars that we have. Okay, it is printed. We have 3 cars. Now this is about the static members. Even if we created another car 4, we will have 8 car 4. Okay, now what of for method? Here we have public static int field, this field number of cars, and the same thing if we have another method that will use this field, it will be static because it deals with the concept of class number of cars. Maybe in the future we will have this public static int number of cars, something method like to use the method to print it directly without writing this from here. Now let me simplify this without writing this. Now let me delete this and have method that will work on this field, and if we call the method we will have it printed. Now from here let's have public static void. It will be static number of cars. Now this method, it will just print the numbers of cars available. Okay, system.out.println. Inside this, let's write number of cars. Now we simplify this class without writing so many code here. It looks very good than earlier. Now let's access this method using the car class directly. Here is the method. Now let's print and see what we have. Now we have 4. This is about the static members in this course. Method overloading is having 2 or more methods with the same name but different number of parameter, one type of parameter. Now, to explain on this method overloading, I have created a class coffee. Now let's have integer espresso, so let's do it like this, and have integer steam milk, and half integer again milk food, and also have integer chocolate. Okay, now we have these 4 variable, and let's create a method public coffee, public void coffee, and let's write private, and this is also private, all the fields private. Now we have these 4 variable. Okay, now we will pass parameter to this method. This parameter will be of integer. Let's have this espresso. Now integer steam milk. Now we have this coffee with only these 2 parameter, espresso and steam milk. Okay, now let's have another distilled public coffee, void coffee, and let me copy this. And have this milk fort here. Okay, now we have 2 methods by the same name but different number of parameter, and if we call this method, we have to pass the amount that is needed. Some may want only this espresso and steam milk, and some may want all these 3, and we can also create the class for all these 4 coffee ingredient. Now let's see this dot espresso equal to this dot steam milk equal to, okay, for this method. And for this method we have these two, an additional milk fat here, okay. Now we have two methods by the same name. We can only have another method that have all these three ingredients, but these two method is also enough to explain on this coffee. Now let's create coffee. We'll have coffee equal to new coffee. Okay, let's access this method. Now we have two methods by the same name but different parameter. Now for this one we have only two arguments, espresso and steam milk. We pass the amount, let's say espresso to 2 and this steam milk to 3, and let's also call this the number of parameter differentiate. Now we have espresso, steam milk and milk fat, and let's pass the amount like 1 and 4 here. Now we have the same name of method with different parameter and different implementation. It is different implementation because the amount here that the user want is different from the amount that the user wants here, and the number of parameters is different because here there is milk fat and here there is no milk fat. Depends on what the user want or the one who ordered the coffee want. Now here is our method, and it may be of some method may have return type and some may not have return type, and there is no need to explain or return type, which we have already explained earlier in the course. But this is what method overriding. It may be a salary or something. I just use this, maybe it is simple for a learner to understand this thing.